Hi, I'm author Lin Lustig, and I want art in my books, so I'm drawing it. Come see. Hello friends, welcome and welcome back. Today I'm going to be drawing you a really crappy chibi. Hopefully at this point you've seen that I can actually draw chibis that are reasonably stylish and not horrible. I mean, people do pay me for them on occasion, so I'm gonna go ahead and assume that means I'm not awful at them. This, however, is not good. What I'm drawing here is a character design for Laura, or at least an attempted design. It's a first, which means it's also going to be the worst. Character design is really hard for me because I have only a feel of who the character is, but not a great physical representation of them yet, especially when it comes to any kind of clothing design or costume. I'm honestly not great at that part. I do much better when I have a commissioned chibi where people just tell me like, oh yeah, they're dressed like this. Or I'm drawing a real person and it's like, oh yeah, here's a picture of them in this outfit. And I'm like, cool, thanks. But this character is raw and from my head, which means also a little twisted. Since I struggle to get these kind of characters out of my brain, onto the page, and with the right feel, it often takes a few iterations for me to find the vibe that I'm looking for. Laura here is no exception. She is a character from my newest work in progress, which I refer to just as Chosen. The idea is that a society is built on the exploitation of chosen ones, and Laura was forced into the role of being the villain, and she's determined to break the system and escape her fate. Meaning right now I am trying to capture this kind of undercover villainous vibe because she ends up going into this chosen system and tries to break it from the inside. This first version is by no means remotely how she needs to look, but it is a variation that I'm going to try and follow through and find a more perfected version so I can at least use that as another jumping point to create other variations. Honestly, it's probably going to take me a while and you may see several more of her. When I was first starting my pirate series, I had to draw my characters, I don't know, a dozen times or so before I really had a feel for their look. And even then, when I started drawing them specifically for the chapters in the book, the details changed enough that I had to go back and redraw the first several. There are still in that first book that I would like to redraw, but they're pretty low priority right now just because I do need to keep moving forward, especially as I get more and more interest in what I'm doing with the chibis. If you didn't know, I actually have a Ream, which is a Patreon-esque subscription service where people can subscribe and read stories every month. So it's intended much more for authors who are going to be putting out serialization or chunking up their books or delivering specialized goods with their monthly subscriptions. That's not something I will be doing a lot of since I anticipate most of my readers will be in the States and I am currently living in Europe. I do hope to send out stickers though, and maybe some actual letters, things like that that are relatively inexpensive to send, because otherwise anything I'm going to be making from a subscription, I am then just going to be putting it right into shipping costs, and that seems kind of silly. I have one set up right now that's much more intended as a tip jar. However, my stories are going to be coming out on it soon, so I do have the various levels kind of set up. But I love this idea of rebuilding the patrons of the art. So back in the day, of course, you could get a patron that would just pay you to constantly create art. They weren't paying you for the art. They, of course, might get some or want some or request something specific, but they were more or less just providing an income so you could continuously create. And I think that is such an amazing idea because there are people out there that want to support artists in any form. I think Patreon is an amazing place where that is possible, but for authors, part of the problem is that Patreon doesn't support any kind of R-rated materials or even into X-rated, and there are a lot of erotica writers that are insanely popular. And there was a lot of push to try and get a free expression of that particular art form that Patreon would not allow. So Ream was born, more specifically for authors. And so I got set up over there and am prepared to put all of my stories up and see how that goes, see where it goes, honestly. I've never really done anything like this on a subscription, so it could be really interesting or it could be a big flop. Either way, though, it's another place where I get to share my chibis and I get to share my stories, and that, of course, is one of my biggest goals. What can go wrong? Don't answer that. Actually, with that, I think it's time I sign off. So thanks for coming around, watching me draw this really terrible chibi. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and come back soon. See ya.